In that case, it wouldn't be strange if a magic item exists that lets you see through them. No one in Erantle could figure out mine. The head of the Wizards Guild said the only way to see through them was with experience, so I got complacent. There are Orichalcum rank adventurers here, though I screwed up. Aints looked around again. It doesn't seem like anyone is on guard against me, so I think my secret is safe. But from now on I shouldn't take my helmet off in the capital. Nothing is certain, I have to keep that in mind. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a talent ability for deciphering illusions. Miss Everly, please just call me Everly. You saved my life, Sir Momon. I can have someone like that being so formal with me. To Aints, it was just ordinary politeness. But if she didn't want it, he didn't have any reason to object to dropping it. Okay then, Everly. Shall we go over there now? Let us. Her reply was cheerful. Unsure what had set her heartstrings singing, Aints allowed himself to be led over to where the princess was. After the group Renner, her attendant, and the two Adamantite rank adventurer teams withdrew into a different room, the remaining adventurers began chatting. They seemed to have been waiting for the opportunity. Naturally, the topic of conversation was the elite adventurer Momon. I'd heard about him in the news from Erantle, but he is so polite you'd never assume he was Adamantite rank. It is not only him. I know the drops of red, and they ray the same way. They ray so generous as people they remind you that strength isn't all there is to being at the top. An adventurer wearing a platinum plate chimed in on the conversation between two wearing mithril plates. Do you really believe that? And who prioritizes greeting rookie adventurers over a summons from the princess? That was a surprise. The surrounding adventurers all nodded in agreement. For missions like this one, where it was necessary to cooperate across teams, it made sense to lay the groundwork for getting help easier by introducing oneself. It was only human nature to be more inclined to save a familiar face than a stranger, but Adamantite rank adventurers would only turn to those at least mithril rank for help. There was no reason for them to greet and befriend the Greenhorns, but Momon did. This meant he must have been trying to deepen friendships without expecting assistance later. Normally you would go talk to the princess and leave your teammate to handle the rookies. Yeah, that's what most people would do. It is definitely what I would have done. You too, right? Yeah, to put it harshly, the guy seems a bit oblivious. He seems like he might mess up judgment calls. It was not a compliment, but there was no malice in the speaker's expression. And if you put it kindly, as if he'd been waiting to be asked, the same man spoke twice as fast as before. He is the best. Even though he is an elite adamantite, he respects his fellow adventurers, even the ones just starting out. Look at the rookies' faces. Yeah, they were totally in love with him. The low-rank adventurers resembled baseball fanboys who had just shaken hands with a top player from the big leagues. I'd fall for him too. He can take my soul anytime. No way. Plus, he wouldn't go for you anyhow. He is a duo with that pretty lady. You think they ray an item? They must be. Why risk the danger of a two-person team otherwise? I heard differently. A fourth man cut in. The plate around his neck was Orichalcum. You seem to know since you have the news from Erantle, but supposedly those two are on a whole different level. They ray a two-person team because no one else can keep up with them. Were you eavesdropping on us this whole time? Ha ha ha, don't be like that. It is not like you were trying to talk in secret anyhow. Well, whatever, said the other adventurer who had started the chat. Right about then, the head of the guild, who had remained behind, clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. Okay, we're moving out now. We'll meet up 1 hour after we leave the castle. We don't have much time, so please tell any teammates who aren't here quickly. For now, please follow me outside. Late Fire Moon, September 1:12 a.m. They had gathered in a different room to confirm final plans for the arrow. When would they charge? How would they handle it if the enemy's position was heavily guarded? They considered all the potential dangers and their strategies. In the end, they weren't well enough informed, so the only answer was to play things by ear. The boy in the white full-plate armor Climb had been listening intently. Now he spoke up. Excuse me, princess. What is it? Regarding the arrowhead, I know someone else with overwhelming ability in battle. What about finding him and asking for help? 2 arrows would surely give us a better chance than 1. And if they teamed up, I think they could slay this demon, even if it is immensely powerful. What gives, Climb? You don't think my recommendation, Sir Momon, will be enough? Evelyn didn't even try to soften her sharp tone, and Climb flinched. No, it's not like that. Please don't think that was my intention. No warriors are stronger than Sir Momon, not a chance. I guarantee that whoever you nominate will just get in his way. The warrior holding a katana, Brain, wondered about that. My don't think we can say that for sure. I've seen the guy Climb is talking about, and he was crazy strong. He killed Zero, the strongest member of the Six Arms, in one blow. You're Brain Unglaus. You got hired as an aide to the princess on the recommendations of Gazef Stronov and Climb, right? Hired as one of Gazef's men, that is. I am just attached to the princess until I get my official appointment. I know you're much stronger than Climb, but I don't get how that makes you capable of speaking for this other guy's strength. Didn't you lose to that old woman? Lachius asked. Speaking of which, didn't you lose too, Evelyn? She apologized to Mr. Unglaus. Evelyn groaned in response to Lachius's remark. That was because it wasn't just her, you guys were there too, Tina pointed out. Right after you lost, you said you lost to Ligrit, not to us. You really remember it well, Tina, Evelyn exclaimed. Tina laughed triumphantly. Evelyn gave an almost humorous urg. Their comedy duo-esque exchange swept away the souring mood and actually helped everyone relax. That was when Ain't said, very interesting. Who is this fellow? Climb gave the man's name with confidence. His name is Sebas. Huff Sebas? Ain't thought he'd heard that name somewhere before. Is it just a coincidence? What's he like? Ain't listened to Climb's explanation and nodded emphatically. It's Sebas. Why, how does this boy know him? What's their relationship? Is he one of the connections Sebas made in the capital? Ain't had only glanced at Sebas's reports, and didn't he really remember who was mentioned? Well, he couldn't help it. I have too much stuff to do, he thought in a hurry, making excuses for himself. All he knew was that if this boy was a connection Sebas made independently, mistakenly eliminating him would undo all of Sebas's hard work. A superior should avoid nullifying his subordinate's labors. Therefore, it was safer to respect this boy, indirectly praising Sebas's efforts. More than anything, he didn't want Sebas to think, but I wrote about him in my report. We won't know who is stronger until Sebas and I actually fight each other, Mr. Momon, you're stronger. Evelyn nodded at Narbral's assertion. Aints brought a fist down on Narbral's head without thinking. My teammate has her opinion, but you two say differently. I imagine we must be about equal strength. That's the mature thing to say. Meanwhile, our teammate hasn't grown physically or mentally. You keep on, okay, that's enough. Do you mind not shaming us? That's an order from your leader. I doubt there will be any big changes to our strategy, so why don't you go visit Tia and Gagarin? Tina will do. The two dead members had already been brought back to life. Aints regretted not being able to witness the resurrection, but he was satisfied with the information he learned about the process. By the way, can you use dark energy on the demon we ray up against? Dark energy? Confused, Evelyn answered Lachius, who was also perplexed. Yeah, I heard from Gagarin. That demonic sword Kilinaram you have radiates enough energy at full power to swallow up a whole kingdom, right? Lachius's eyes popped wide open. Let's talk about that later. We have more important things to discuss right now. Demonic sword. Wait a minute, I've heard that name somewhere before, not in Yggdrasil, but here in this world. Oh yeah, Ninya. She said something about how it gave off dark energy. But could it really? A whole country? That might be an exaggeration, but even if it came close, Aints gathered that she was blushing out of anger, and that her panic was probably caution after having had her ace move revealed. As all eyes were on Lachius, there came a knock at the door. Two men entered without waiting for an answer. Brother and Marquis Revan, reacting to Rena's voice, everyone bowed slightly. It was Aints' second time meeting this pair. The first time had been just a little while ago when he entered the castle. That was when the request got changed from guarding against the Eight Fingers to subduing Jaldabaoth. He was also asked to cooperate with the adventurers Rena had gathered for that purpose. After a brief hello, they said they needed to talk to the princess, so Aints and the others were going to leave the room. They had already decided on a rough plan. The idea to look for Sebas had been shot down. They had neither the time nor the means to find him. Lachius would take charge of everything else on the ground. Well then, everyone, Rena said. I shall pray to the gods that each and every one of you makes it back. Everything depends on you all. Actually, it's more correct to say it depends on Sir Momon. I hope for good luck during your fight. Rena bowed her head and Aints and the others acknowledged her on their way out. Remaining were Marquis Revan, the second Prince Zanak Vol on Igana Ryle Vaself, and Rena. The moment Climb left the room, Rena's face fell slack. Her blue eyes took on the hue of a frozen lake in winter. The change was intense enough to be called dramatic. It gave Zanak the chills. He said, "I heard the details from the back. The room they were in had an eavesdropping room adjacent to it. The two of them had been listening from there. But there was one question that didn't get answered. Why are you forming a line with the guards? You were just sacrificing them? Guards were weak. They were likely no hardier than the lowest rank adventurers. If they were attacked, they'd be completely crushed, no doubt about it. They ray food." That was the answer the pair had expected. One of the adventurers mentioned this, but it will be dangerous if the lower-level demons under Jaldabaoth's command spread into the town. We'll prepare a place for them to eat nearby so they concentrate there. She laughed, adding that full stomachs should dampen their urge to kill. Surprisingly few things in the world finish neat and clean. There would always be victims. Statesmen had to act in ways that created as few as possible. Rena was a paragon of that viewpoint. But the creatures called humans always had emotional objections. Is there no better way? Something that wouldn't put the guards in harm's way? If there is, what do you propose then, brother? He clammed up. He didn't have any ideas better than Rena's. He had ideas, but none of them were good enough. All he could do was acknowledge that her plan was the best one they had for the moment. The Marquis averted his eyes from the prince who had fallen silent. Then he asked a question. "May I also ask something? Why did you give Climb such a dangerous mission?" "The same reason my brother is going to patrol the city with your personal troops." Zanak was planning to make rounds in the capital. He wanted to give people the sense that someone from the royal family cared about the commoners. Later, they would spread gossip. The gossip was that the elder prince had hidden in the castle to stay safe. The goal was to build up Zanak's reputation while tearing down his brother's. So if her reasoning was the same, perhaps Rena wanted to better her renown by sending her right-hand man on a dangerous mission to rescue people. But considering how she said she felt about Climb, the Marquis still didn't understand. She must have realized Revan still had questions. She continued, "Climb might die, but in that case, Lachius can simply cast a resurrection spell on him for me. Don't you think? It takes more than a little gold to perform a resurrection, but I have that much, so it's no problem. And then who will look after Climb, all weakened after having his life force sapped by the spell? Who would complain if I nursed the boy who fell in battle after following my orders and was brought back to life? I see, that makes sense. Thank you. But what if Lachius dies, right?" The Marquis bowed his head to communicate, "As you so wisely perceive," and Rena explained. "During the more dangerous second sortie, I've arranged for an issue to come up. The head of the Adventurers Guild said she doesn't want to lose someone who can use resurrection magic either, so she readily promised to cooperate. You planned everything out, huh, sis?" "Yes," she beamed, and Zanak shivered. Even Marquis Revan could barely suppress the chill that went up his spine. Chapter 11, The Final Battle of the Disturbance 15 Late, Fire Moon September 2:30, and the roaring flames didn't give off any heat. They were like illusions. The adventurers at the head of the line exchanged glances with their teammates. Then they mustered the courage to take a step into the towering wall of fire. The support unit from the shrines had cast a defensive spell on them. This reduced fire damage. So the reason they held their breath must have been because they were worried about their lungs burning. "We told them this fire wouldn't hurt them," Lachius grumbled in her head as she watched over them from the rear. Then she considered the firewall. "It doesn't do any harm, so it's fine" was too simplistic a way of thinking. If the demon's aim wasn't to cause damage, then they needed to figure out what effects it did have, and they needed to understand why it was made. Times like this, when all the thinking in the world doesn't get you an answer, it's better to just give up. Was it Everly who was saying, "I should use my head for more important things"? Was it my uncle? They passed through the magic fire as if it were a mere mirage. The flames had no heat. They also presented no resistance. Lachius scanned the adventurers. They walked with tense looks on their faces. The plan was to form a line, but inside the city, it was virtually impossible to make a neat line. So with 4 Orichalcum-ranked teams as linchpins, all the adventurers split into 4 groups. To someone with a bird's eye view, it would have looked like 4 amoebas spreading out. As long as the orichalcum rank adventurers were acting as anchors, they had to be good models for the others, but even they were nervous. Really, she would have liked them to conceal their fear. She wanted them to inspire courage in the other adventurers. I guess I have to take the lead. If she stood at the head of the line, morale would probably improve too. But right now, she didn't have friends she could rely on by her side. She may have been adamantite rank. But that didn't mean that a single rose could equal an entire orichalcum team. That was why she asked them to serve as the vanguard. It would probably bother them if the one who asked them to go also joined in, but at some point, she should probably get out there and lead. Lachesis concluded and crossed through the wall of flames. A silent world stretched out before them. Apart from the fact that some buildings had collapsed, and there was no sign of any people, the city streets were just the same as before. Where did the residents go? It doesn't smell like blood. Are they holed up in their houses? That can be. Look, the doors are kicked in. They must have been taken somewhere. There might be demons lurking in the empty houses. Should we go through each one? It will take a while. We should play it safe and contact Lachesis for orders. Then I'll do that right away. That won't be necessary. The consulting adventurers turned around, drawn by the voice from behind. They must have been surprised to see Lachesis reach the head of the line with perfect timing. Their eyes widened. The iron and copper adventurers will stay behind to search the houses. And please have one mithril team stay to supervise them. Everyone else should keep spreading out and advance. Any objections? They shook their heads. Then please proceed. Lachesis joined the orichalcum adventurers and advanced along the street. It was eerily quiet. You would never guess people had been living there until a few hours previously. By the way, I wonder if Mr. Momon is all right. Considering they were leaving everything up to him, she understood their concern. I am sure he is fine. Everly said he is even stronger than her. The only problem is the enemy mastermind, Jaldabaoth, who might be his equal. I wonder how tough that demon really is. The expressions of all the adventurers in earshot grew dark. Oh, sorry, don't worry. We just have to do what we can. That is good enough. Yes, that is right. As adventurers, it is a bit frustrating, but let us console ourselves knowing that everyone will leverage their strengths. Okay, everybody, let us do this. Right, let us go. Lachesis walked out front with the orichalcum rank adventurers. In one hand, she gripped demonic sword Kilinaram. Said to have been cut from the night sky, the blade twinkled like the stars. They hadn't walked very far when they heard the faint sound of explosions in the distance. The lower-ranking adventurers jumped. The middle-ranking ones started preparing for action. The high-ranking ones vigilantly scanned the area. The most elite among them stared ahead. As everyone reacted in various ways, Lachesis also turned a penetrating glare forward. I guess that group is seeing some action, huh? It didn't seem like the squad Tina was in. As long as we were advancing at the same pace, we should be expecting an intercepting party soon too. What about from above? We have communications personnel up there as planned, but we didn't spare any who could attack. That is fine. Lots of demons can fly. It would be bad if they flew into the city, so it is better for us to advance along the ground to draw their attention. So we are going ahead with the original plan for now. Yes, Hey, did you hear that? She asked an arcane caster. The caster replied, I am not sure without visual confirmation, but it sounds like a hellhound. Their special ability is fire breath, probably around difficulty 15. Difficulty, by the way, what do you reckon the difficulty ratings are for Jaldabaoth and that bug maid? Lachesis wondered what to do. If she replied honestly, it would probably lower their morale. But if she gave them misinformation, and they mistakenly assumed they could face these enemies head-on, that would be a problem too. After much indecision, she finally gave a straight answer. 150. Huh, all the adventurers in hearing range had the same look on their faces. That is my guess for the bug maid's minimum rating, 150. Jaldabaoth would have to be over 200. What? Everyone besides Lachesis was left speechless. Of course they were. The difficulty rating of monsters that elite orichalcum adventurers usually fought was already around 80. People said they could somehow deal with monsters up to 15 points higher than that, but doubling, that was just a joke. Not only that, but wait a minute. So Mr. Momon is going up against difficulty 200. That is right. That is why we only be in the way. There's no point even talking about that realm. 200, you must be kidding. Are all adamantite rank adventurers that strong? The best we could do is probably 90. Then there's no way we can win this. Lachesis averted her eyes from the gasping adventurers. She wasn't lying, but it wasn't the truth either. She could manage only around 90, but Everly could handle over 150. That was how Lachesis had estimated the ratings for the bug maid and Jaldabaoth. That power was why Everly wasn't a part of the perimeter defense. She'd gone into a special resting period in order to swiftly recoup her magical energy. Once recovered, she would accompany Momon to Jaldabaoth's location and support him so he could fight the demon one-on-one. They anticipated the reappearance of the bug maid, so it had been decided that Everly would fight her. As Lachesis considered all this, she sensed the atmosphere around her worsening.